Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first Security September webinar series. We will have webinar sessions for 4 weeks on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. EST. We are planning to have 60-minute sessions, and we have a busy schedule. That's why please share your questions at questions part. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Zeynep. I'm working as a senior product manager for Comodo security products over 1.5 years. You can directly contact with me for your any questions, problems from my personal Skype and email addresses. Today, we are starting to our webinar series with overall CCS and cybersecurity integration. We will be talking about the file rating by priority, protection layers, and additional security features as a warm-up. The second week, we will be talking about the file rating integration with Microsoft Comodo File Lookup Server and Valkyrie. The third week will be about advanced endpoint protection layers and configuring secure profiles. We will create profiles with using protection layers like real-time scanner, containment, HIPS, virus scope. The last week will be about additional features for control network traffic, block certain URLs, block certain devices, and prevent data loss. As a conclusion, after this webinar, we will start to get into more details for each content with live demonstrations with our portal and client application. We will create secure profiles and apply portal settings to our endpoints. We will run malicious files and change file settings. I want to give a short overview with key features. Comodo Client Security offers complete protection against internal and external threats by combining a powerful antivirus, an enterprise-class packet filtering, firewall, and an advanced host intrusion prevention system. When used individually, each of these modules delivers superior protection against their specific threat challenge. When used together, they provide a complete prevention, detection, and cure security system for your computers. Once installed on a Windows endpoint, CCS can be remotely configured and monitored from Endpoint Manager console as we talk about cybersecurity system. Real-time protection is a classic antivirus module. Once any file is accessed, it is scanned by CCS to identify it is malware by signature database. Firewall allow to control network traffic by applications, their rating on traffic parameters like IP, port, protocol, or traffic direction. HIPS module monitor the access to sensitive or protected objects like important files, memory, registry, and it is able to deny access to them. The HIPS host intrusion protection module monitor the access to sensitive or protected objects like important files, memories, registry keys, and it is able to deny the access them. Containment is able to execute file in a virtual environment to prevent any changes on the system. CCS creates a mirror for every object created accessed by virtualized process. Virtual desktop is a sandbox environment, which is a sub-task for containment feature. If behavior matches, if you run a program and browse the internet without fear, and activities will damage your computer, we can protect you from any threats for virtual desktop. The virus scope monitors and process the behaviors. If any behavior matches some malicious pattern, virus scope is able to revert changes made by processes. This makes it ideal for the risk-free internet surfing and for testing out beta unstable software. Rescue Disk is a bootable disk image that lets you run virus scans in a pre-boot environment and runs Comodo Cleaning Essential on a lightweight distribution of the Linux operating system. It is a powerful virus, spyware, and rootkit cleaner, which works on both GUI and the text mode. And we have auto-runs monitor and external device control as the additional feature capabilities of CCS. Auto-runs monitor is able to block, disable, or quarantine if it is not trusted to prevent its execution during the system start prior to CCS, all modules full initialization. External device control is able to block certain devices or certain group of external devices like flash drive, CD, DVD ROM, webcam, etc. Comprehensive antivirus protection. CCS leverages multiple technologies, including real-time monitoring and on-demand scans, to keep endpoints totally free of malware. You can schedule a scan to run a specific time and also create your own scan profiles to check specific files, folders, and drives. CCS can periodically rescan unknown and quarantine files to check whether a new trust rating is available for them. This area lets you specify a schedule and settings for these scans. For example, this is a useful if you are worried about an item you have copied from an external source or downloaded from the internet. In order to guarantee continued and effective antivirus protection, we have an update option. Is imperative that your virus database is kept up to date. Updates can be downloaded manually or automatically from Comodo's update servers. You can see on the screen example for the quarantine screen, the area shows malicious files which CCS has isolated to prevent them from infecting your system. All files in quarantine are encrypted, so they cannot run or cause any harm to your endpoints. The items are usually quarantined by antivirus scanner, but it is also possible to manually quarantine the items. You can select and change ratings for any items. The item column is the name of the malicious component. The location column is the file path of the item. And the date time column shows you that when the item was moved to quarantine, this screen. On the top of the buttons, the right button, is that submit button. That means submit selected quarantined items to Valkyrie for analysis. For example, if we select this malware and click the submit button, Valkyrie will start to analyze this malware. Valkyrie is a Comodo's file testing and verdicting system. After submitting your files, Valkyrie will analyze them with a range of static and dynamic tests to determine the file's trust rating. All submitted files are analyzed at Valkyrie. If they are found out to be trustworthy, they will be added to Comodo safe list, which we call whitelist. Conversely, if they are found to be malicious, they will be added to database of virus signatures, which we call blacklist. On the scan screen, it is an important screen for CCS. You can see these options. Quick scan is the profile scans important areas of your computer, which are the most prone to attack. This includes system files, autorun entries, hidden services, boot sectors, and important registry keys. These areas are of great importance to the health of your computer. So it is essential to keep them free of infection. So quick scan is really important for our computers. A full scan checks every file, folder, and drive on your computer. According to full scan, you can also check the USB and other external drives are also scanned with full scan. A rating scan checks the trust rating of the files on your computer. What can be the trust ratings can be trusted, the file is safe to run. A malicious file is a malware that, depending on your settings, CCS will either quarantine the file immediately or present you with disinfection options. Unrecognized, Comodo does not currently have a trust rating for the file. Unrecognized files should be run in the container to prevent them potentially attacking your computer. So you can simultaneously submit them to Comodo for a trust rating analysis for unrecognized files. A custom scan lets you check specific files, folders, drives, and areas on your computer. You can scan individual folders, an individual file, and create a custom scan profile for your computer. Host intrusion protection system. The host intrusion protection system constantly monitors system activity and stops processes from modifying important files and interfaces. Comodo client security ships with a default HIPS rule set that works out of the box, so providing extremely high levels of protection. For example, HIPS automatically protects system critical files, folders, and registry keys to prevent unauthorized modifications by malicious programs. Advanced users looking to take a firmer grip on their security posture can quickly create custom profiles and rule sets using the powerful rules interface from our advanced settings screen inside our Comodo client security application and from our portal. What is HIPS settings? A general settings that govern the all-over behavior of the HIPS component. The HIPS rules, these rules determine what actions and applications is allowed to perform and what level of protection it enjoys from the processes. The rule sets viewed predefined rule sets and create a new rule set that can be applied to your applications in your system. Protected objects define objects to be protected by HIPS, such as specific folders, system critical registry keys, and so on. HIPS groups view and edit predefined registry groups and com groups. So create a new groups so as to add them to the projected objects. And I want to point an important note for HIPS. This section often refers to executables. An executable is a file that can instruct your computer to perform a task or function. Every program, application, and device you run on your computer requires an executable file of some kind to start it. The most recognizable type of the executable files is the exe file. For example, WinWord exe is the name of the executable that instructs your computer to start and run a Microsoft Word. Other types of executables include these extensions like .dll, .drv, etc. Unfortunately, not all the executables can be trusted. Some executables, broadly categorized as malware, can instruct your computer to delete your valuable data, steal your identity, corrupt your system files, hand control of your PC to a hacker, and more. So you may also have heard that these refer to as Trojans and scripts and worms. So CCS have that default rules to be able to protect you from these harmful activities. Comodo Client Security generates a HIPS alert based on the behavior of applications and process running on your computer, on your system. I will briefly explain some of the alerts for HIPS. You can see on the screens as an example. First, you should carefully read the information displayed after clicking to handle under the threat alert description. Comodo Client Security can recognize thousands of safe applications. If the application is known to be safe, it is written directly in the security consideration section, along with the advice that it is safe to proceed. Similarly, if the application is unknown and cannot be recognized, you are informed of this. If it is one of your everyday applications and you simply want it to be allowed to continue, then you should select the allow button inside the alert section. If you don't recognize the application, then we recommend you to select block the application button. By clicking to handle to expand the alert, you can choose block, the application is not allowed to run, block and determine, the application is not allowed to run, and the processes generated by it are terminated, thereby shutting down the application. Also, you can select that block, determine, and reverse. The application is not allowed to run. The processes generated by it are determined, and the changes may be made by the processes, applications to other files, processes in the system will be rolled back. And the second, if you are sure that it is one of your everyday applications and want to enforce a security policy rule set to it, the application, please use the threat as button here. This applies a predefined HIPS rule set to the target application and allows you the application to run with access rights and protection settings as dictated by the chosen rule set. The third, pay spatial attention to sorry. Third, pay spatial attention to device driver, installation, and physical memory access alerts. Again, not many legitimate applications would cause such an alert, and this is usually a good indicator of malware, rootkit-like behavior. Unless you know for a fact that the application performing the activity is legitimate, then Comodo recommends you that blocking these requests. And lastly, I want to point that protected registry key alerts usually occur when you install a new application. If you haven't been installing a new program and do not recognize the application requesting the access, then a protected registry key alert should be cause for concern. And the container the container is a secure virtual environment in which you can run unknown, untrusted, and suspicious applications. Applications in the container are isolated from the rest of your computer. They are denied to access your processes and write to a virtual file system and registry and cannot access your personal data. The container is our most powerful protection layer in CCS. And this makes it an ideal environment for surfing in the internet because nothing you download can spread to your host system. You can run applications in the container on an ad hoc basis, and you can also create desktop shortcuts to allow launch a program in the container. You can start an exe in the container and it will not affect spread to your host system. This is a containment task screen example for our CCS product. Containment tasks has the areas you can see in the screenshot. Run virtual is the run individual applications in the container. Open shared space is a folder which you can access from both your real desktop and virtual desktop. Then in the virtual desktop, save your files in shared space if you want to open them on your host computer. Applications in the container right into a virtual file system and not your local drive will be affected. This prevents them from making potentially malicious changes to your files and folders. The one exception to this folder called share space, the folder can be accessed by both your host operating system and contains programs. Reset containment, clear all the data written by programs inside the container. You can easily reset your container. Watch activity, open Comodo key switch to identify unsafe processes and manage system activity. Run virtual desktop, start the virtual desktop environment and containment statistics analyzer, details information about the processes running on your computer, and processes are split into contained and non-contained processes. If CCS encounters a file that has a trust status of unknown, then you have the option to automatically run that file in the container. The container is a secure and virtual environment where the unknown files can run, but cannot affect your computer as I shared before. If the required, you can also allow contained applications save files to external storage devices. For example, to USB sticks and external storage devices. The containment settings lets you configure all the aspects of the container. So you can have advanced settings to both containment applications, both targets. You can add specifically rules to your container which you want to block, ignore, or run virtually. You can select all applications, or you can select some of them. Uh, you have all the aspects of the container in your settings screen. Shellcode injection and virus scope. Shellcode injections can be configured from miscellaneous settings under advanced settings option. The miscellaneous settings panel lets you configure protection against shellcode injections, buffer or overflow attacks, skip automatic cleanup of suspicious certificates, and configure protection settings for the auto start entries and schedule tasks. Viruscope monitors all the activities of processes running on your computer and alerts you if they have actions that could be threaten your privacy or security. And Viruscope allows you to reverse the actions of software without blocking the software itself. This provides more flexibility over legitimate software, which requires certain applications to be implemented in order to run correctly. Viruscope detects zero-day malware by analyzing the behavior and actions of applications. If the detected behavior corresponds that of a known malware, then Viruscope will generate an alert which allows you to quarantine the application and reverse any changes that it may be. You can monitor only applications in the container, and with this approach, Viruscope only tracks activities of the processes that are running in the container. It will not track the processes directly running on the host. So a recognizer file contains the set of behaviors that Viruscope needs to look out for. If you disable a recognizer, Viruscope will no longer show an alert if an application exhibits behavior described by the recognizer. So we recommend the most of the users to leave the status of the recognizers at their default settings. Advanced users, however, may want to try disabling recognizer if they are experiencing a large number of Viruscope false positives. But we recommend to leave the status of the recognizers at their default settings. Firewall. The main benefits firewall offers you is that monitors all the network traffic to protect your computer against inbound and outbound threats, hides your computer's ports from hackers, blocks malicious software from transmitting your confidential data over the internet. So the firewall tasks you see on the screen lets you configure internet access rights per application, shelter on your computer ports, view active connections, and even block all the traffic in and out of your computer. So in addition to this task screen, you can also configure advanced firewall settings at the settings firewall screen. The simple rules interface lets you specify exactly which applications can access the internet. So you can choose to receive alerts if the firewall detects suspicious activity, or have the firewall auto-implement and a specific action. The firewall settings has several subsections. Actually, you can uh, create most specific rules if you want to. General firewall settings that cover all the overall behavior of the firewall. Uh, Application rules which control the network access rights of specific applications or the types of applications. The global rules that apply to all traffic flowing in and out your computer. So both applications rules are uh, both application rules and global rules are consulted when the firewall decides whether to allow or block the connection. So if outgoing connections you are looking for, applications rule are consulted uh, first than global rules. If you're checking for incoming connections, global rules are consulted first than applications rules. The rule sets collections of rules that you can be applied on the internet capable applications like browsers and email and FTP clients. The network zones, a network zone is a named grouping of one or more IP addresses. So once created, you can specify a zone as a target of the firewall rule. Port sets predefined groups of regularly used ports, and then that can be used and reused when creating traffic filtering rules. File rating. The file itself cannot be dangerous until it is executed. So CCS allows calculates the rating for every executable file and script when it is executed. The file rating area lets you view and manage all trusted, malicious, and unrecognized files. The file ratings in CCS are obtained from our online file lookup service, which we call FLS. CCS will avoid trusted status that to be filed if applications in our global whitelist of saved files. The application has a trusted status in the CCS file list, and the application is from a vendor trusted as trusted in the vendor list. So once any rating source returns trusted or malicious, plus unrecognized for administrator or user rating, this rating became final and is recorded to internal CCS database for further usage. If no one rating provider trusted or malicious, the file will be submitted to Valkyrie for analysis and reported to the EM portal, which we call cybersecurity. The approximate average analysis time on the Valkyrie is 4 hours. And once Valkyrie set the rating, it is synced with the FLS and with the EM portal, the admin portal. CCS is able to get FLS and Valkyrie ratings for files via EM portal or by direct lookup. So CCS rechecks the rating for ever executed unrecognized unknown files periodically every 4 hours. The file rating is in CCS protection layers and modules to make a behavior decision. So the rating sources by priority, as you see in the screen, that first Microsoft signed, second Comodo signed, and third administrator rating, and fourth user rating, and signed by trusted vendor, and file lookup server, and the last Valkyrie if an unknown unrecognized file. We will analyze all the way the file. And data loss prevention. Data loss prevention, which you all know that it is important for the security for our endpoints, is a strategy for ensuring that end users do not send critical or sensitive information outside the corporate network. The API is used also to describe software products that help a network administrator control what data end users can transfer. So the data loss prevention software identifies the potential data breaches, data exfiltration, transmissions, and prevents them by monitoring, detecting, and blocking sensitive data while in motion, like network traffic, at rest in data storage, and in use that endpoint actions. The DLP software products employ that business rules to classify and protect vital and confidential information so that unauthorized end users cannot maliciously or accidentally share the data whose disclosure could not put the organization at risk. So our DLP features are building up over time. We will provide you effective protection. Our CCS DLP offers you to block any data flow compromising or social security numbers, credit card numbers, or any sensitive information. Allows customers to confidentially and confirmatively share their financial and personal information. So prevents the sensitive data from leaking through the endpoint devices or network connections. And we will provide you that data security for email, printers, removable devices, web, and more. We are increasing our feature capabilities one by one, and no one will be able to transfer them outside your network. The data loss prevention scans let you identify documents which contain confidential information. So DLP scans are run by selecting the DLP discovery rules active on your devices. So each rule defines, we created the data loss prevention rules, and we scan on our desktops, and we quarantine some files according to our rules. And each rule defines the areas of the scan, the type of information to search for, and the action to take on discovered files. The DLP task area lets you run on-demand DLP discovery scans and view the files quarantined by DLP rules. Data loss prevention scans let you identify the documents on your computer which contain sensitive data, like we said before. Example that sensitive data includes that your credit card numbers, your bank account numbers, social security numbers, and so on. And the scan interface shows all the rules added to your devices by the EM profile active on your devices. So the rules are setting from a portal that your admins are sending the profiles, the endpoints to be scanned. So you can select the discovery rules to run a scan that each defines area, that type of the information. The possible actions are ignore and quarantine. You can either log the action, the original location, and see the details of the sensitive data in the endpoint. And the quarantine, the file is moved from its original location to a secure holding area, like our antivirus quarantine screen. It's working like same approach. It will be removed from the computer, and it is contained in our quarantine screen. And if we restore the files, it will be restored on the endpoints. But if we decided to delete all them, we can delete from the computers, and we can also do these settings from our portal, the admin portal. And your endpoint manager admin should have first created a DLP rule in the EM portal and added them to the EM profile action on your devices. And the DLP quarantine shows the files, the CCS isolated, as you can see, and we scan file by file, and we quarantine the rules according to sensitive data explanation. And also we have for DLP that we can block the we can have the USB storage or the external devices. We can block them, we can check them, we can create monitoring rules, and we are preparing the more functionalities for our DLP product day by day, which sprints are upcoming sprints. And this is all for the data loss prevention. So on the below part, I added Comodo forum link, which I shared from the chat group before the webinar session. You can add your comments or your request for our webinar sessions, webinar topics, so we can answer the questions about this webinar. Also, after the webinar session, we will send the webinar record via email. I will check the chat for your questions. Will there be a transcript of this? I will send the record for the webinar session via email for your personal emails you registered for webinar. I will not share the presentation, but I will share again our record. Can the updates be configured to occur every hour? Yes, you can configure, but maybe it can have that some problems to your performance to your CCS. If you want to change, you can configure with every hour. Items marked as trusted are trusted globally or for that endpoint or group. If an admin marked that file as trusted, it is trusted globally. It's not for one endpoint or one group. It is globally affected. Is CCS supported on Mac and iOS, Android? Yes, CCS supported on Mac and Linux, but not iOS and Android. But we have mobile applications for security on mobile applications, but they are consumer versions of the security products. Where are those options I don't see in the licensed endpoint security? You mean that HIPS options? Let me open a portal to show you HIPS options that I will in the later I will explain on the demonstrations to you that all rules I explained, all protection layers I explained. Now I will continue in the second and third and fourth week. I will explain you on a live demonstration on the portal side also. Let me open my portal, and the options are not on the client side, Emmanuel. It is on the portal side also. If you are having one settings option, it is all on the portal admin side also. Admins can have settings on their portals. Let me open one profile. Under configuration templates, under profiles, you have sections for endpoints, and you have HIPS rules inside the profiles, and you can edit each rules from the CCS as showed in the presentation. You can select them. It is also set by default to the profiles. I hope this is explained your questions. Can updates be configured to occur every hour? Yes, I answered that, the same question. I expect to never be interacting with these client devices, just assigning to policy for different groups on the backend. I think I don't understand, Frederick, to your questions. When managing 100 endpoints, seeing this client side is only is hard. An admin can manage hundreds of endpoints from our cybersecurity product, and it's so easy to manage them with profiles. I showed only one endpoint, but the endpoint I will create the profiles and give you more live demonstrations after the next webinar sessions. If you can attend the next Tuesday, I will create some profiles and make it configurable for the more than one endpoint, and we will create secure endpoints. Antivirus database updates can be configured to run in increments of 1 hour or 1 day on the profile configuration. You can update. Yes, thank you. Michael is answered before me, I guess. How long will items stay in quarantine? It is staying in quarantine until you remove them, delete them or restore them, or it is stayed on the quarantine, I think, for 3 months. We are taking it to quarantine. All these features, HIPS auto-containment firewall, are included on the free Comodo antivirus, the paid CIS, and the paid IAP. CIS, yes, the paid CIS has that all these features, and the paid IAP, yes, we have all the features I explained now, and also we have DLP, as I explained for the last part, and the all portal settings are include the IAP paid version. When managing 100 endpoints, seeing the client side, as I answered that, sorry. When you set a global configuration from Italian console, you can also set some auto-containment rules within the client side. Yes, You can set auto containment rules inside configurations from Ethereum or Dragon platform also for endpoints. You can push the endpoints. I was just asking to create clarification for configuring an admin console. Thank you. Thank you, Frederick, also. Can it be integrated to Active Directory? Yes, we have Active Directory integration for our endpoint manager console, but it is, let me check, but yes, we have integration with Active Directory. How can you prevent the end user to create own rules within the client? This is a good question. We have settings for let them, the end users, create their own rules, or we can give passwords to settings, or we can give access to them. If we want to let them create their rules, yes, they can create, but we have a admin rules super site, like you said. If admin create that a rule, if a client has rule, admin will crash their rules. Yes, you can set that. Or if the endpoint will be the last rules, so you can set that if any rules inside the endpoint, the admin will not prevent their rules. So you can configure with your configurations on your portal site with those options. We have password protection for our settings also. The user should enter a password. Admin set their password. So if they know the password, they can create rules like an admin, but we are not giving all the users changing endpoint rules. The all rules pushed from the portal, from the endpoint manager side. So the all endpoints will be the same. It will make a harmony for all the rules and make it easier to manage. I think this is the all questions. How often are the rules pushed out to clients? Immediately. If you push out the rules, it will send to queue, and it will goes into queue one by one, and it is immediately to if the connections to Comodo client security or Comodo communication client communications application is online, it will be pushed immediately. Is firewall module available for servers? Yeah, good question. Yes, we have firewall for servers, but let me explain this in. I think the firewall is on our third session. I will create and explain all the rules in that webinar, and I will give a live demonstration for all of them, for firewall, for HIPS, and for the other of the protection layers. And thank you all for your questions and time. And if there is no question, see you next week at the same time on Tuesday. Please make sure that you register our next webinar session. See you.